Georgie Dickins is a multi-hyphenate. She's a speaker, moderator, network builder, author, and a C-suite confidant. She's also the managing director and co-founder of Cajetan Group, which specializes in C-suite coaching. Georgie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you've been coaching C-suite executives for nearly a decade. You say it could be lonely at the top, and some of them do face isolation and loneliness. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of leaders speak to feeling alone, and there's a big difference between being alone and actually feeling alone. And I think the role can be very isolating. There are a few people that already get it, that understand the responsibility that comes with the seat. And so I think for many leaders, the importance really is about having that inner circle, that trusted tribe, a place where you can be vulnerable and take the corporate mask off to have the conversations you don't get to elsewhere. Because the pressure, the intensity, the scrutiny, the judgment that comes with the seat is more so than it's ever been before. So loneliness is definitely a common theme that I see in the coaching.
Why you're saying that, they're maybe more visible than they've ever been before. Why do you think that is?
Social media, you speak in a town hall, everything can be recorded, everything can be cascaded out very quickly. You don't get the chance to have an off day. And I think for leaders now, there's a real asymmetric exchange. I think leaders are expected to give grace, be okay or tolerant of people making mistakes, but the same thing isn't afforded of leaders. We do very much live in a cancel culture, and I think for leaders, they're expected to have a voice on everything, whether it's climate change, geopolitical, macroeconomic. They're expected to have a voice on everything, but you can't be too loud, yet you can't be too quiet. So they walk this very tightrope of getting the message on point or right, knowing that stakeholders are open, available 24/7, and you will be judged. Your words may get misrepresented, and I think that is a reality of being a leader in today's world.
When coaching leaders, how do you work with them? What does that process look like?
It's that trusted container, and I think for me it is, as a leader, there are very few places that you actually get to take that corporate mask off. And I think for leaders, a lot of the coaching work is, yes, it's about their organization, how they're strategizing, and it's creating that space for them to step out of the chaos and the busyness of their world into that calm container. And for me, being able to build that relationship, to be the mirror, to be the truth teller, to be the sounding board, to be the checks and balance. I think there are very few spaces. You look at any leader's calendar today, they're scheduled a year in advance. So being able to block out time periodically, which is purposefully self-reflective, it's purposefully a space for them to connect the dots, I think is really important.
How important do you think it is for them to have that space and that container? And also, do leaders just let their guard down with you and get vulnerable? And how is that analogous to their success in coaching with you?
Yeah, I mean, vulnerability is key. If you don't have a vulnerability hangover at some point through coaching, then you're not going deep enough. So I think vulnerability, if you're a leader, I think people can look at leaders and they see they can be somewhat of an avatar. And yet they may have aging parents, they may have a family member that's unwell, they may have children who are suffering from anxiety or troubles at school. So they're not immune to any of those, and yet they're expected to show up confident, composed, and there's days where they'll move mountains and there's days where they wobble. When they have that stuff that's going on outside of work, it is about being able to create the space to kind of work through that. And equally, as I said, how do I support them so they stay fit for purpose for the role? The role requires them to be mentally and physically fit, resilient. And if you think of any organization that have operational resilience strategies, leaders today need to have a certain level of resilience to be able to deal with the demands, the intensity that comes with the seat they sit in.
We have about 30 seconds left. How can leaders set themselves up for success in 2026?
Know their on switches. I don't see in today's world a leader having the ability to have off switches. So know your on switches. What's your fuel for the bigger picture? Family, exercise, whatever it may be, but those things are non-negotiable. Prioritize, fiercely protect them.
All right, Georgie Dickins, Managing Director and Co-founder of Cajetan Group. Thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you, Ashley.